when I was young, I was bullying another girl on the bus with I and an older guy. The bus driver told us several times to stop it. And well, the older guy didn't. I happened to be in the middle. I still blame him, but I got to take some responsibility. The point is, when I got up to leave the bus driver stood up, laid me on the front seat of the bus, and spanked me 3 times, okay? He stood me back up, and he told me, don't you ever do that again, or you're not riding on this bus. Now, when I got off the bus, I was afraid to tell my dad, because I knew what I was going to get, okay? Probably 10 times worse than he gave it to me. But you know what? I never bullied another person on that bus ever again, or found myself in a situation to do that. Now, Representative Daphne, if a bus driver did, Mr. Speaker, if Representative Daphne would yield.
He will. Representative Gruenhagen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Daphne, if a bus driver did that today to a student, what do you think would happen?
Representative Dabney.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Gruenhagen, corporal punishment, I believe, is not allowed in Minnesota, and there would be consequences.
Representative Gruenhagen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree. But the point is, it cured the problem. I didn't have to go to counseling, therapy. I couldn't sue the bus driver. It was over. It was cheap and inexpensive and effective. You know, without going into too much detail, I went to a social studies class, and the teacher happened to be a football coach, and he had a paddle in 9th grade. And if you didn't behave yourself, you got up in front of the class, and guess what? You got one on the hind end, and you had to sign the paddle. It only happened one time in his class, and everybody behaved themselves. We didn't have any problems. And what we've done, Representative Daphne, is we've tied the hands of our local school districts from actually applying discipline to the students. And the result is we have to hire armed police officers to walk the halls. That's the problem. Your bill is not going to fix it. You're only going to make it worse. And one last example. When I first was on the school board, I suddenly got an update from our superintendent that an 8th grade teacher had punched out 3 8th grade boys, okay? And the names weren't there. So I called the superintendent up. I said, well, what teacher punched out 3 8th grade boys on school property? So he gave me the name. It happened to be a good friend of mine. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, how'd that happen? Well, the superintendent said they kept egging him on with comments and rude comments, and all of a sudden the teacher got to the point where he couldn't take it anymore. He didn't care what the rules were, and he punched out the 3 8th grade boys, okay? So you know what our current laws do? They promote abuse, because the people who are supposed to be in charge are afraid to go out and do something. And we had another student in high school got beat unconscious in the hall. Not one teacher went out into the hallway to stop it. We had to hire an armed police officer after that. Our current laws create abuse. Your bill does absolutely nothing to address that. It won't fix the problem. It's only going to make it worse. Let's vote no on concurrence, send it back and fix it. And Representative Daphne, I'll work with you, okay? You and I can come closer together politically. And let's get a bill that will make a difference. God bless you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.